So on behalf of the association, I want to apologize because that is so Cjpan, we're not going to waste further time, any more time than to start straight off. It's a lecture. Today we are having a lecture, the role of the media, the new media in the 21st century banking industry. Cjpan was established, for some of you who do not know what Cjpan stands for, was established last 3 years. In the year 2019, we are registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission, and also we have records with the SCOMO, the Special Fraud Unit of the EFCC. And also we have our clear objectives. One of the objectives is what we are doing today, to ensure that we keep the profession up to the minute by training and retraining journalists in specific areas of our job. And we are doing that today for the benefit of some of us here who are members and some of our friends who are also in the media. I'd like to use this opportunity for us to go straight to bring to the podium the one that will be anchoring this, and also make clear introductions of the membership of this association. And if you have the program, if you flip onto page 10 of the program, you see the distinguished members of the program. Their names are written there. And I'd like to call on the podium the President of Celebrated Journal Publishers Association of Nigeria before we go operate. The President of Celebrated Journal Publishers. Thank you very much, sir. Welcome. His name is Comrade Joshua Uloko. My pleasure to introduce my President. Welcome, sir. I also want to call to the right table the Vice President of the wonderful association, Cjpan. His name is You're welcome, sir. Yes, so joining them on the high table is our secretary, our wonderful secretary, Shehu Fabi. I call him Pastor Fabi. Come to the high table, my secretary. Please come to the high table. Yeah, it's to complete us with this thing, please. You can come to the high table. Yeah. We have to go straight to associations, but we have our MC in the house who will do justice to this. But before we do that, rise up on our feet for us to hand over this program to the able hand of God. We're going to pray, and also when we open the prayer in Christian prayer method, we also close the event with our Islamic brothers that are here. Praise the Lord. Praise Master Jesus. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this wonderful occasion. Celebrations and the unity we are alive today in this country today. Thank you, Father, for this association, Celebrated Journal Publishers Association of Nigeria. Thank you for the members, the members and the family that are here seated. Thank you, Lord our God, for we know that your Holy Spirit will minister to us. Teach us the things that we should do, and that our path will become straight before your face in the name of Jesus. Father, Your name and your name alone will be glorified. White testimonies will fill our mouths in the name of Jesus. Thank you, Father.
Thank you, so
For in Jesus' mighty name we pray.
Amen.
Put your hands together for yourself. Hallelujah. I'd like to use the opportunity to call on Martin B to come out.
Ladies and gentlemen, most of you already know me here. As a comedian in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and anywhere I go, I make people laugh for a living. First of all, I would like to give a big appreciation to the media. I want to thank the media
For making me, they are part of the people who have made me who I am today. I was nobody when I started doing my comedy show. And I started meeting each and every one of the media people here in this room. And what nobody has done for me in my life, they did it for me.
very short and according to what they paid for. But whenever I'm having my show and I send my advert, I'm always getting a free media publicity. In fact, a full page. Please, a round of applause for the media. I appreciate you for that. God bless you so much. And before I continue, I just pray to say this speaker will still keep working so that the work. When our president is doing his speech, we'll be able to hear him very well. But without wasting much of our time, I'm happy to be here, and I thank God for what has been happening in my life. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. In Nigeria now, everybody they face the same thing. We are all facing the same thing. Nobody is special, nobody is above, nobody is higher. We are all buying the same thing with the same amount. Fuel is the same amount we buy. You buy fuel for so amount, I'll buy the same amount. So there's nothing special about it. But we still thank God for still keeping us alive, and we still have that money to buy whatever the inflation has brought to this country. We pray for a better Nigeria. We pray for a better president. I know Nigeria, you know, when you go to abroad and you see a new governor or a new president, and you will hear that the past president left almost maybe $700 and something billion remaining for the country. You know, everybody's happy. But when you come to Nigeria, I don't know, to the owe. But always owing, I don't know. Yeah, the next president will come in and you go check accounts, money no dey inside. We'll find out that we are owing China, we are owing America. We just keep owing every year or every tenure of the president. But we pray that one will stop in Jesus' name. Amen. Nigeria need to stop owing, because no one even one day now. So maybe probably we are owing China one big money. China will now come. Say we owe them. One of us now will start working for China. Before you know now, maybe we will speak Yoruba or Igbo. We will start speaking China language. Or we change, or maybe they want to change our names. Like Mr. What's your full name, sir? Mr. Shokoya. Maybe they'll change his name. So Mr. Shihu Shokoya. You know, and stuff like that. But that will not happen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to go straight into the program. I would like to call on my brother, a friend, also a mentor, and a You see, our president is a special advisor. He's also my special advisor in this industry. He has encouraged me, he has spoken to me, he has told me never to give up. And guys, there's going to be a brighter day, and I listen to him. And I'm here with him. Ladies and gentlemen, please, if your hands are not pleased, I'd like to recognize and bring to the podium the president of Cjpan, nobody else than Comrade Joshua.
Keep clapping, keep clapping.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Well, my duty here in this moment is just to come and give welcome address. And before I do that, I sincerely, from the depth of my heart, I want to especially thank Dr. Pastor Aki Olani. On my way entering this hall, I saw him downstairs. I felt ashamed. The chief host, instead of me being in the hall for his arrival, is here waiting for me. It's very, very, in fact, thank you very much. We are very proud of you. Keep us proud and keep on doing us proud at all times. The Lord is always with you. Thank you. Well, briefly, Cjpan. Cjpan. Apart from our guests, we are expecting other guest speakers and our friends in the industry. I would like to thank our friend, our brother, our colleague that take their time to be here with us here to learn one or two things on our topic we discussed today. Thank you, bros. All of you are welcome. Straight to the point, our distinguished guest speakers, participants and partakers, all protocol observed. It is a glorious moment for me to extend my warm wishes on behalf of my colleague, the bona fide member of Celebrity Journal Publishers Association of Nigeria, Cjpan. Briefly, Cjpan, which came into being as a child of necessity, is an association of like-minded publishers of both print and online media that have come together to collectively relate with themselves on how to improve their business of publishing and standard of reputable journalism, so as to adhere to the ethics of this noble profession. For over 3 years now, the association has grown with an enviable track record and multiple achievements, in which one of these you are witnessing here today. We create time to train and retrain ourselves on the trends and the challenges accompanying the new media in order for us to distinguish. I want to sincerely convey my heartfelt gratitude to you for accepting our short invitation and agreeing to dissect this crucial topic that which we find very important to us and stakeholders at this challenging moment of banking industry in Nigeria. It is an opportune moment to refurbish and debate upon the problem of social interest with our esteemed delegate on the banking industry. The seminar schedule touching upon the spectrum of exerting and benefiting them. That is called the aspect of growth of new media in the 21st century banking industry. On behalf of my member, I am compelled to thank all the paper presenters and those that will give remarks. Before we begin this seminar, I would like to again express my gratitude to all of you who sincerely committed to this event to make it a good success, especially our major sponsor and my colleague for keep believing in our vision. This event would have been impossible without the support of each and every one of you present here today. This seminar is organized and conducted for the general audience to gain insight and information that will remain effective in their life. Exercises and work. Each topic for discussion and debate for today's seminar was chosen, keeping in mind the interests of our stakeholders, who are our major stakeholders. While we want to develop ourselves, we equally want to play a critical role in the change of the society we all live. This led to our recent event on environmental sanitation. And this presentation on greeted with positive feedback. The topic of discussion for today's seminar is personal development. Personal development is an investment that helps to improve our knowledge and attitude towards life. Personal development helps an individual to build skills, set goals, work on approach, believe in their potential, and improve awareness. Through this seminar, an individual is given a platform to identify their vulnerable spots, gain understanding, focus on essential aspects, improve their leadership quality, attitude, and confidence, and to provide practical communication skills as well as the frequent changes needed in their lifestyle. I know the seminar will be profitable and fruitful for everyone present here. Thank you all. By God's grace, we'll round out in peace and all get to our various destination. Before I move from this podium to where I'm sitting, the reason why we are organizing this event is for us, the member of Celebrity Journal Publishing Association of Nigeria. Some of our members that are supposed to be here, some travel out of Lagos because of one assignment or the other. Then notwithstanding, we are documenting this event. Right here, some of them are key to our social media platform. They will get whatever they will be trainers training us today. So you are all welcome, and I believe wonderful, a pleasant lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, our comrade, Honorable President, ladies and gentlemen. Try to see if we can get sound, but we still have to continue. Until it's set. You know, if you go to the market now, you want to buy something, probably before you want to buy a product of 150. When you go there now, they'll tell you 200. Then you would like say you won't come out, think say they will call you back. Not like before. When you are going, they'll call you back. But now nobody will call you. Nobody will call you at all. You know, inflation is rising in this country. A Nigerian man went abroad to go and fight boxing. And just the first round, knocked the guy down. Just with one blow. Just one box. Just one blow. The referee just said fight, and just give the guy, Whoa! That was what the guy fell. The guy fell down. And after everything, they started asking the Nigerian guy. The media people came from different places. They were asking the Nigerian guy. They said, "This man you fought today has never lost any battle. He has never lost any fight. He has beaten everybody in the whole world. How come it's you that just came for the first time? You gave him one blow. How did you do it?" He said, "Don't do anything. No." Say the thing I just say, don't think about Nigerian problem. Say think about the road, no light, inflation. Say just put everything for that blow. Now you take it. Say no, nothing where you do. I said, okay, no, congratulations. Now I want to talk about husband and wife. I heard a story about it, husband and wife. You know, the husband and wife came to a pastor. They were complaining, they were quarreling, and the pastor asked the husband, "What is the problem between you and the wife?" He said, "Pastor, I don't like the way my wife they take press the toothpaste for house. You must clean the way they take press her. Me, I told her she be pressing from down. Me, I dey like press her from down. But my mother they like press her from up. So the thing no tally." Pastor says, "So now toothpaste be na problem. Okay, you like pressing from down, abi?" He said, "Yes." Madam Milko said she like pressing from the top. So, well, no problem. Pastor gave them money to go and buy two cartons of toothpaste. He said, "You take one carton, press from anywhere where you like." That is how they settle the. That's how they settle the case. You understand? You are still trying to fix the. You know, in this rainy season, I always advise people. I advise your people. Anybody who want word for rainy season, tell them make you no red for, make you no word for open ground though. The couple called me. They said they want to wed in this rainy season. I told them, if you want to wed, go and get a hall. They said no, that they want to wed on open ground, that they are okay with the open ground. I said, "Sir, go and get the hall to wed." He said, "What are you talking about?" Then say, "I didn't want wedding for us. I mean, we are the one wedding." How is your problem? They can't go collect primary school. The open ground. During the wedding, they can start to the fall. You know now, everywhere is scattered. Husband and wife enter one class. Parents enter another class. People when they share food, those one they another class. So everybody can share class, you know. So I was inside the rain trying to know where everybody, which class everybody did. So the chairman called me. He said, "MC," I said, "Sir." He said, "Do you know where the vendor is? The people that are sharing food?" I said, "Yes." Then probably 5. It's okay, no problem. Then he said, "What about the parents?" I said, "The parents, they are probably 5C. They enter probably 5C. He said, "What about the husband and wife?" I said, "Husband and wife, they don't enter probably 5F." He said, "Okay, no problem." No, we're there until the rain fell and came down. So please advise people that want to wear, they should always get a hall. It's very, very important. Anybody that wants to wear, they should get a hall. You know, these days we have this IT period now, and we find out that whatever we want to do now, they speak to us. If you notice, bank door used to speak to us. You know? When okay, that's Oh, sorry. I just have to follow what you wrote here. Sorry. The way it's right now, follow. You understand? All right. Mr. Moses Obajebu is representing Mr. Kayode Fayode. Please, a round of applause for him. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have the presence of the head media and external relations from UBA. Nobody else than Mr. Rahman. Is a round of applause for him. Okay, okay, he's on his way. Okay, they said he's on his way. Probably when he hear the class, he will still come free. All right, ladies and gentlemen, try and continue so that they can fix it. And earlier on, why my first MC, my first Oga, has already introduced a very wonderful pastor here in our midst. And he's going to be taking us on the first lecture, and I'll introduce him very soon. And I'll let us know who he is. I know some of us already knows him already. For those of you who don't know him, you know him here today. Ladies and gentlemen, while they are trying to fix the sound, try and see if I can call on our first. Go on to the first lecture.
Maybe it's charging itself without charger. Maybe in a power bank, I don't know. Next 1 minute now to go off. But it's a lecture, so I'll crave your indulgence for just a few minutes so that they can put this sound in place, because we have our guest speaker here. But just for a few minutes, I'd like to recognize some wonderful people in our midst here today. Please, if your hands are up, please a round of applause for David Oladimeji. Please a round of applause for the reporter. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, from New
Ladies and gentlemen, from News Afik, we also have Mr. Sheyi Owo Jomi. Please a round of applause. Gentlemen, we have Aino Iyabo. Please a round of applause for Aino Iyabo. And I'm welcome to this. Man, when he smiles, everyone around him smiles. A man of timber and caliber. Please help me welcome nobody else than the former editor and media expert, and also the former head of corporate communication of Zenith Bank. Please, a round of ovation for our special guest of honor for today. Please let's put our hands together for Pastor Aki Olamide. Pastor Dr. Aki Olamide as he delivers the first lecture.
sorry, Cjpan. This is the reason why we are here. Any of our members that is outside must want to follow. Please, I don't want to see any of our members outside come into the podium. Those that took permission, leave them. We know how to handle that. Any of our members outside, provost, take note.
And first, I'd like to appreciate the leadership of the Celebrity Journal Publishers Association. And I like to appreciate them because it's a privilege, of course, to be invited to share thoughts with professional colleagues. Some of us who had the opportunity to work in public communication, of course, but because we have our roots in journalism, we consider ourselves as colleagues, and because it's so obvious that once you're a journalist, you have the mind of a journalist, no matter what you become in the future. So you still know where you came from. So it's a privilege for me to stand before you to share my thoughts on new media and how new media is affecting communication in the banking industry. To share those thoughts with a very powerful body like yours. When they called me, I believe it was early in the week or late last week, I had no second thoughts at all. I was available. I have my own program today, later in the evening. I'll be hosting Omoyele Shore, a conversation on citizen journalism and the Nigerian political process. That will be later this evening. So, but regardless of that, I needed to be here. And I'm here. Ignore all the environmental issues that we are dealing with. We'll speak, and God will help us. Just to correct small corrections to the introduction. I was not the head of corporate communication in Cjpan, but I did work in Cjpan for 13 years. And before Cjpan, I had the opportunity to also go through the newsroom. I started out as a business correspondent, and I left the Punch newspaper in 2004 as a deputy editor of the paper. I also had a short stay with the Daily Independent newspaper, of course, also as deputy editor. But so, let me ground what we're going to be discussing this afternoon around my experience of working in the newsroom and growing as a journalist from reporter to deputy editor, and to what I have experienced in the time since I began to take a keen interest in new media. In 2013, I took a break from the Cjpan, and I went to the UK for a master's degree program. And that master's degree program was in social media. It was the first year they were introducing that particular course at the University of Westminster in London. And so my experience is useful as we're starting, and it's a very good lesson for those of us who are operating in this space. I arrived in the UK, as I said, remember that I said I left the Punch newspaper as deputy editor in 2004. So you can imagine that I was an experienced editor, experienced journalist. I'm supposed to be media literate. I'm supposed to know it all. But I arrived in the UK in September of 2013, and the first thing, of course, that I saw immediately was that this was a different thing completely. So I may have known everything about newspapering, but within new media, I was illiterate. I admitted that within 2 weeks. And so within 2 weeks, I went through all my social media profiles and I was correcting stuff, I was doing things, deleting stuff that shouldn't have been there in the first instance. And so now that is the context. And so when I have the opportunity to do this, I invite people, I say, just be open-minded. So in your spaces as publishers, be open-minded in the way that you use this space. It's different to what you know in newspaper, in print. And so that's the context. And so the first thing that I like to say, taking off from there, is that the media has changed. We all know that. It used to be the case that the print was dominant in the way that they set the agenda for the entire nation. That's not the case any longer. You don't have a front grip like they used to have. Things are changing. Yes, we still have a lot of newspapers, national newspapers. You can count at least 15 who have the semblance of printing across the country and circulating across the country. You have magazines, about 5, that are still in print like that. Most of them have migrated online. You have possibly over 200 regional newspapers. You go to the south, there are lots of them, Port Harcourt, there are lots of them. As of today, you have over 625 broadcast stations in the country, licensed by NCC. Now the thing is, when you begin to worry is that if you take all the national newspapers together, the last anything that looked at an audit of circulation shows that all the biggest 15 papers, biggest of them all, daily they circulate about 300,000 copies. So that's all. But by contrast, if you look at what is happening in this new media space, we have about 32.9 million people on social media in Nigeria. It's still small compared with the number. You know, if you look at the population, over 200 million, and then only a little over 30 million are on social media. That's the data that we have. And then, but if you look at internet connection, at least 150 million people are connected to the internet, one way or the other. But I know that in Nigeria we have a unique problem. Our country is a mobile country. So you have somebody possibly has 2 phone numbers, 2 lines, both lines connected. Some have more. So that's the thing that we have. But you see, from what I've described is that you know that we have a digital disruption, what we call a digital disruption. The industry is not the same thing as we know it. Communication has changed. The media has changed. Unfortunately, I cannot project, but I have something that I would have preferred to show to you, which is to show you that, you know, I've been tracking the performance of 6 newspapers for about 5 years. And the 6 newspapers that I actually studied for my PhD research that is just recently completed in South Africa. And if you look at that figure and you know, think for a moment that I told you that the biggest newspapers in the country, some of them are circulating as low as 5,000 copies a day. Actually printing 5,000 copies a day, that's all. And then they will make sure they go to Lagos, Port Harcourt, to Abuja, where people can visit, where they are most visible. But if you now look at the figures that these newspapers have established in the digital space, I call it the digital assets of the major Nigerian newspaper. So, for example, Punch newspaper has 2.3 million people liking their page on Facebook. On Twitter, they have 5.4 million people. Instagram, 1 million people. YouTube, 49,000 people are connected. Alexa has closed. Alexa is the ranking that we know, has closed in May. But the last figure that I have, Punch was doing well, number 12 in Nigeria. Guardian, they have 937,000 people on Facebook, 2.4 million Twitter, Instagram, 425,000, YouTube, 51,000. Tribune, 1 million people on Facebook, 726,000 on Twitter, 141,000 on Instagram, 13,000 plus on YouTube. Sarah Reporters, 3.3 million people on Facebook, 4.5 million on Twitter, 1 million on Instagram, 546,000 on the YouTube. Premium Times, 1.2 million on Facebook, 1.9 million on Twitter, 286,000 on Instagram, 24,000 on YouTube. Cable, 513,000 on Facebook, 964,000 on Twitter, 1,400 on YouTube. So you see the figures. So if you pick the print, legacy media publication, the Guardian, the Punch, the Tribune, you see, no matter what number they are circulating, they are doing far better. Bigger figures in the new media space. So you can see the change. It's not, you don't need any professional to come and tell you things have changed. Okay. So another unique thing about the changes that we are seeing is that Nigeria is more digital, we are more mobile. More digital, more mobile. So 79 to 84% of all internet users, they access the internet at one point or the other every day. 84% access internet at home 75 on mobile. 75% of all people who go to the internet do so from their mobile. That's more than 3 out of 4 people. That's what it means. And then of those who access internet at home, so 84% of people said they do internet connection from home. Now, of these people who connect from home, 91% of them use mobile devices. And then 73% of people who are surveyed, anywhere you do the survey, at least about 3 out of 4 people will say they own one mobile device or the other. It means that they either have a mobile phone, a smartphone, or a tab. And then people are doing all kinds of things. The first thing they do, the entertainment, news, and sports in that order. Okay? So Nigeria is digital and it is mobile. Now I want you to notice that when the digital transformation began because of the reform in the telecom sector, Nigeria had never had landlines. So if you go to the UK, for example, there are landlines everywhere. Your mobile connection, your internet connection will be by wired line. They are wired everything. But Nigeria, we have just mobile everywhere. At home, you're at home, you don't have a landline, but you have a mobile. So we're a mobile country. So that's number 2 things. So number 1 is that media terrain has changed. People are now online. And the reason that is why this is so is because we're a mobile country. Digital, but we're mobile. And so the next Twitter, followed by YouTube, followed by Instagram, and then followed by Telegram. Again, I can't project, but that's the order everywhere. Now, if this is so, if I take the first 20, you will not see any mobile application of any bank showing up. So, if I were in a corporate communication for a bank, I would be advising them you have to be focusing more on banking through mobile applications that people use. I know some banks can do limited transactions on Facebook. I know some of them. It's not all of them. Some of them now have WhatsApp lines by which you can do things. But the research published early this year by Bode Augusto says that only 1% of Nigerians are using WhatsApp for banking. But imagine the size of people who are using WhatsApp in Nigeria. Only 1% are using it for banking purposes. Why? They found in their research that people are afraid of security. It takes a long time to complete transactions, and then of course because of charges. So there's something wrong. If 10 people are on WhatsApp and the bank is able to reach only 1 of them, then that's a problem. So that's one thing, is that the banks are not moving as fast as social media and new media is emerging. So there's a disconnect. They need to listen more to what the industry says. So what is the difference between what we used to have, that space where the print, the TV stations, the radio stations were controlling things, and what we have now? What we have now is, of course, like we said, we're digital, there's a digital transformation of the country in terms of media consumption, but also we're mobile. So what we're talking about is that now you are in more control. It's in your hands, it's mobile, no intermediaries. So that is the major change. And so what you need to think about, I was speaking before we started the event, we were discussing some other things, and then I was showing somebody, your president actually, a video that I just showed today, he just sent to me today, and then we'll be discussing it on the platform of some of us who work in Zenith Bank, and we're analyzing it. So about a girl who works in the bank and who is doing TikTok videos in the office, wearing, obviously showing that she works in the bank. It's wrong. But that's what you have now. You are in control. So I may not be publishing a celebrity journal like yourself, but in my personal space I'll be publishing. Because I can go out of this place and then do a live and say, look, I just left this event, and then I'll summarize what I've said. I'll publish my own. You can go and publish your own later. So every single person who has a smartphone is a publisher. That's the major change. 2013, of course, you know, the Oxford Dictionary named selfie as the word of the year. And selfies are everywhere. That's the basic thing that everybody does. Now they have included video, of course. So you can actually do even video because a platform like TikTok has made it easy for us to do. So we are in control, we produce. In those days, the newspapers would tell us what is the news. You aggregate it, you have to wait tomorrow, the next day before you know what happened today. And then, as an editor, I had the responsibility. I will choose what people will see. So I was a gatekeeper. That gatekeeping role has been reloaded completely. No longer has the newspapers fully in control. And so now you have people who are supposed to, they used to be audiences before, now they are co-producers. I can call them prosumers. So they are producing, they are also consuming. So I can take my own selfie, I can post in my personal spaces, I can invade your space actually. So for example, if you publish something on your website, under the commenting section, I can come there and intrude. I can do whatever I like there. You know, that's the environment that we have now. Now, so in the case that I mentioned of the girl who was doing the TikTok video in the office, and I understand she's being investigated. She's been invited for, you know, to explain. So, and I was trying to provide context and help people to understand on that platform. I said, look, people will do that, this generation. Okay, so the comment was that somebody was suggesting that she had a motive. There's no other motive. She wants to be a micro celebrity. That's just it. And there's a very cheap formula for doing that now, and new media has enabled it. That's one of the affordances of new media, is that if I have a smartphone, I'm connected to the internet, I can do anything that I like, it's my personal space. And I've written a lot about this. There are many of them, Cjpan, Tacha, there are many of them, Popoli, all of them. People came from nowhere. So if you look at JJ Okocha, for example, them Kanu, they became prominent by playing football. And so they have a large life in football, in the sporting world. They have a followership already from there. And so they are celebrities in their own right. Your musicians, Whiskey, Davido will fall into that category. They are celebrities. They have social capital, they are built up because they are singers, because they have a large following, and because they have presence on social media. But there are the people that we call micro celebrities, and it could be anybody who is interested. Jane Mina, for example, came from nowhere just by tweaking. She has built a followership, and they are following her. Micro celebrity, Tacha the same thing. And so everybody now with a smartphone, potentially everybody likes to do that kind of thing. So there's a Kim Kardashian, you know, is the biggest of all of them in the US, and she showed that without any serious content, just by dancing, just by flaunting your body, you can become big, and then you can build what we call social capital, and then the social capital can then be converted to money. And so, in that, we call it the attention economy, where people want attention, you want people to notice you, you want people to follow you. In this kind of attention, communication managers need to know something, and you know, and I'm sorry, with all sense of modesty, there's a knowledge gap in that space of communication managers. They don't know, simply, but they don't know. And so, for yourselves, on the personal level, what you need to then do, I tell people who are publishing, publishing online. Forget what you know. I've told my friends, forget. I met some of them during the Lay Festival. We went to somebody's house. I'm speaking of some of them who are big. And I'm telling them, in addition to what we knew in the newsroom of newspapers, go, even if you have to spend money, go and learn about digital marketing. By the grace of God, I have 2 certifications in digital marketing. And so, even before I left the bank, if somebody came, it's a consultant, and he was talking to me, there's no way you can hide, because I knew everything. And so what digital marketing, for example, will do for you is that you would understand the marketing side of publishing, which nobody will teach you. It takes a lot of things for you to be able to make money online. And so in this attention economy, everybody is a publisher, as I've said, everybody wants attention. They want people to follow them. They want to build a followership. So imagine for a moment, and I have something I can't project, but I'm looking at it here. I saved this image. It should be either 2017 or 2018. And we had somebody who was in a branch in the east. And the guy is actually in front of the branch, and he took a selfie. And he wrote there, said, let me try and read what he says. Say, and this was 8:15. And what he wrote is 8:15, Zenith Bank never open, keeping people waiting, wahala deo. So what I'm saying, 15 minutes delay, the guy could complain within his space. He could do whatever he liked. I could actually stand, potentially I can stand in front of a teller if you are misbehaving, and I can do a selfie there. I can do it live there. Cjpan allows you to take your calls inside the banking hall. Some banks don't. So what we are saying that things have changed, people are in control. Let me pause here for a moment before I go into the speed up. For us communication managers, it was easy to handle when we were handling only print media. If you publish something nasty, if we cannot get you to drop it, all they will take is that it's simple now. I will target where they are distributing papers the next morning. I will mock up. The government used to do that, and they did that effectively well. You knew that from the military government that we had. Or they come and lock up the press itself. End of story. But you can't do that anymore. Because the print is not even, it's a very small fraction of what people are doing today. And there are people in the dynamics who are now involved, who are not even, who are not your day-to-day journalists. We call them citizen journalists. Okay, so and they can do anything like the other side. So that's the difficult environment where communication managers are working. So they need to think different. And there are many ways that you can do that. And so if you listen to what I have said from the beginning, there are at least 4 distinct features of new media. And it's a lesson for you, your personal spaces, in your businesses, and then also for the people that are present today, for communication management. And I see errors everywhere, every day, no matter how big the person is. And I write about it. It's not about you being able to just write anything. It's not about the last forward reading about errors committed by the video. I remember there was an instance, some young girl said they were catching boots. In planning the video, they were catching boots, and then they said one of them was the video. So my Instagram page, and then I saw the media is one over. And according to them, they were catching boots. They said they do impregnated one of them, and then he refused to take their call. Eventually, those people tracked the girls down, and then they actually handcuffed them. It was also wrong to have done that because it was also nice, it was also on video, and we couldn't do that. And so, what are these 4 features of new media that we should be aware of? Number 1, and this is the thing that differentiates new media from the traditional media as we know it. And as I said, managing print is very easy. All I need to do, if I feel offended by what you have published, I can stop it from the press. If I can't, if I miss that, I can go to distribution points, mop up everything. You print again, a mop up. It's done, easy. And so, new media is that communication in this space is persistent. And what I mean by that is that every single thing that you have published, whether it is on your phone, what it is on the internet, and this is where we should be very careful, it's automatically recorded and archived. So if I do something on Instagram now, pull it down immediately. I've not cleaned it. On the server somewhere it's there. That's number 1. Number 2, every single thing that you do on new media, every piece of communication is replicable. So it means that even if I put something on my personal space, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, another person can take it, they can retweet. It's on Twitter, they can share it on Facebook. They don't need permission to do that. System allows it. That's the feature of that place. So it can be duplicated. Number 3, one of the features of new media is that communication in this space is scalable. Scalable means that if I do something on my Twitter, in my space on Twitter, I have 100 people following me. One of them has 1,000 people following me. Another one has 5,000 people following me. Imagine they all retweet. So as far as I'm concerned, I may have been communicating to 100 people, but they scale it up for me. And then from there, a traditional media house that has a large following you can take it, they can even remove it from the new media space and bring it to the mainstream. It can enter television, it can enter radio, and then it goes out of your hand. And then number 4, every communication, every piece of communication on new media is searchable. So that means that today, if I want to go back to, I can't show this slide, but I have an example of a case that troubled us when I was in Zeliban. Searchable means that I can just go to Google and key Fayoshe case, Zeliban, and then you pull out every single thing that happened. And this is where you need to be very careful. So communication managers who are managing banks, they need to be very careful. So let me just then rush through the impact of new media on business. And there's a research of digital marketers across the world, and 55% of consumers say they learn about brands on social media. So new media is important. Brands need to be present there. 45% of consumers increase their social media use to discover the only reason why they go there is that they want to learn about new products in companies. 80% of consumers that social media enables them to interact with brands, companies. 78% of consumers are willing to buy from a company after having positive experience with that brand online. So 17 people are convinced to do business with a brand when they have a positive experience with that brand online. 91% of executives will increase social media. So some people know. And here's the point. Your presence online is an extension of your brand. So what it means, for example, a bank, is that if I go to the head office of a brand, we call them touch points. Every single place where people can engage with their touch points. So your branch is a touch point, your ATM machine, even if it's not housed within your premises, it's a touch point. Your mobile application is a touch point. Your social media assets, your new media assets, digital assets, they are touch points. And so the experience that I have on the social media page of a bank should be the same thing that I have when I enter a branch. And here's the point, is that there are times when banks will post something and you have somebody who's bringing a negative comment, how do you engage with them without annoying them? In the same way that it will be odd, because bank people are well trained in that regard, it will be odd for me to enter a branch and the teller is engaging with me in the abusive language. We are exchanging words. They are very well controlled in that space. But on social media, because they don't know the kind of people that mentioned to us, some of them were abused. We've seen those things coming back to backfire. So those are the challenges with managing communication, the being new media space for banks. And so what do I think that banks should be doing in the new media space? Brand building, awareness, reputation management, sales marketing, customer care, research, recruitment, all those things. So every single thing that you can do. Remember that I say this principally. Even if you are administering a WhatsApp group for your old students association, your village council meeting, whatever it is an extension of the meeting. You've got to have basic rules and regulations for everybody who's involved. I normally do that for every single WhatsApp group where they are made or where I convene. And then we're all guided by the same thing. It's an extension. So be careful what you're doing there, essentially. So what are the golden rules? Again, I have examples that I can't show here. There was one that happened in Sterling Bank, and they were dissing other banks, and then it backfired. And then I will tell us what to do. Golden rules for online communication: authenticity. There's a limit to what you can steal. Remember that I said this communication has 4 features. It's persistent, scalable, it's searchable. You cannot hide. So if I steal content and I'm claiming it's my own, there's somebody who will just do a simple check and then they will embarrass me. A bank cannot afford to do that. A brand cannot afford to do that. And I told you I was with a group of people recently and we were discussing these kinds of things, and they were telling me how some people are running into, especially when you're on YouTube, you're doing video. You can't steal video anyhow. You steal beyond, that's what we call fair use. Once you pass that level, if you pass that threshold, people YouTube, And then after that morning, I think 2 mornings, and then they pull that, they close your channel for a moment, and then until you go and rectify. So you've got to be authentic. But see, when you're authentic, this is the thing that, like the case that I cited earlier of the young girl who doing TikTok video in the office. It's a win-win situation for the people who were previously audiences but who are now empowered to produce and to disseminate information. So communication managers got to be very, very careful. We're discussing the case of that young girl. That's like, even here, one other bank is already looking at that. I said, look, if they sack her, we're going to take her. That bank may, in the moment, be able to position itself as being more accommodating of the generation Z, as we call them. But that ban has potentially opened the door, because if you encourage a young girl to do TikTok video at work, what you have done to society, tell her that it's okay for you to use what you have. Like we said, micro-celebrity, she sees herself as a brand. After all, before they sacked me, somebody was waiting for me. So she said, boldly, potentially she can begin to twerk, maybe not at work but at home. And then, see, this is the thing, is that if I work for a place as a communication person, I am careful about what I do, my personal space, even if it's out of work hours. And so, crisis management in this space is far different to what we have known, as I described. It's easy for me to mop up newspapers, but now it's more difficult for me to mop up in this space. So how serious? If I have a crisis, for example, the first question is, how big is this crisis? Well, should I even respond at all? There are times when in the bank we will say, let's watch and see what will happen. And sometimes by evening, the thing is gone down, I'd like to go. You don't necessarily need to comment on everything. When we started when we took the bank to the social media, it was a small group of people that are trained to start, and then it's grown very well. It's actually a separate thing from corporate communication in the bank. And sometimes they call out my attention. Somebody's writing something. I said, wait first, now, what do? You can't be engaging. After all, if the person came physically to the branch, you will not respond to certain things. So ignore. Sometimes you can ignore. Sometimes you need to respond with clarity, with honesty, and then transparently. You can't hide anything, like we said. Fact checking is very easy now. When you're sitting, you can pick up your mobile phones, Google anything. And if you are expecting to be very clear, be very accurate, be very transparent, if you need help, don't hesitate to get help. And like we said, there's a knowledge gap within the industry. And of course, I have the example that I mentioned of the ad that caused trouble some time ago, Sterling Bank, and the day they had you see, obviously, you don't need it, but you see the logo of it. You see a horse, you see a square. They were obviously attacking some older generation banks, older ones, you know. But when they saw that it backfired, they quickly, came clean, and then they apologized. So there are times when, in the new media space, it's difficult to hide. In traditional media, it's easier for you to hide. Now it's more difficult, very, very difficult for you to hide. Okay. So, as I try to tie it all together and bring it to a close, I'm saying that this terrain is different to what we have known for anybody. Even for me, I narrated my experience when I went to West Military in 2013. I was a novice. But thank God for about 9 years I've been able to study, research in this space. I know a lot more than I know now. So it's different. You can't control this. For banks, yes, we want to embrace what this space offers, and what it offers is that you can reach people directly, you can respond real time in the same way that you can publish real time. It is far better than what we used to know, because in those days we would close here and then you wait till the next one to begin to see what we have discussed here. But now you can even be sitting here and be publishing. But here's the problem is that if you are doing a live event, you got to be very careful. Whether we are seeing that error on Zoom, for example, if it's not controlled, we saw a lot of those things during, especially during lockdown, 2020, 2021, where people are working from home, and then you see a child, he passes by, he's half naked, you see a child coming to make money, even broadcasters who are broadcasting straight from home, they experience that. There have been occasions where a bank decides to do a live question Q&A. Cjpan had an experience, for example, on Twitter. They abandoned it immediately because they found out that it was abused. They couldn't contain it. You can't control this. It's so difficult to control. So, yes, we want to embrace new media, but we must be wise in the way that we stand and control it. Be on top of it. That's just what it is. And then, as I said, because I said it's replicable, it's scalable, it's archived somewhere, clean up is difficult. As I close, I want to narrate. I'll be careful with the details. Anyway, we had an issue with Ayofayoshi. This was 2017, it's about a case he had, and he was claiming that the bank loaned him the money, as money came from somewhere. Anyway, and on a particular day, and if you know the way, those of you are related with him when he was in office, you didn't have it operated. They are sending out a press release, they will probably copy about 200 people. In a single media house, they will copy multiple people. And so because we had, a way of, some advanced money system, somebody called us and called our attention to it. So we called our friends, they dropped the story. Next day, papers were clean. But on that day, the bank is bank, business is business. So they made an approach to them, they sent a director there. Even though corporate communication was not a no-go, we knew the guy was streetwise. We'll be ready, we'll be waiting for you. And that's what we said about new media. So, by the time they got there, cameras were waiting, everything was online. Somebody was kneeling and it wasn't a director. Anyway, so that's the story. And so it backfired big time, it was against us, everything was moving against us. And this is what I say about, you can't use the knowledge you have in trying to come and manage this space. So all we needed to do was to call somebody, and by about a little bit after 5 p.m. on that day, from 11 a.m. to about 5 p.m., everywhere was boiling. And then one single tweet by Zara reporters. And then that was it. So everybody that called us after 5 we said, oh, see something, Zara reporters done something. Oh, Zara reporters appear to have the complete story. That was it. And everybody went there. And then by 7 p.m. everything started to go down. And then it started to go against the tide went away and then to our favor. But here's the point. For that particular incident, and I could cite many examples, for that particular experience, for that incident, it may be the bank avoided a PR disaster, but the scars will be there. That's what you don't even allow it to happen. That's the rule. So if you go today to check, as I said, do the on Google, Cjpan, Firesheet, you will see we throw a lot of things. All the comments are still there, all those things are still there. Okay. So this space is different to what we know. Everybody is in control. No single person can control. There are different nodes of powers across the entire system. But if you know how to walk your way, you can easily navigate the minefield. There are minefields, but you can easily navigate them by minding what you say, minding the way you say it, minding the entire thing that you do in that space. And so, what would be my passing shots? My passing shots to communication managers within that space, and to yourselves and editors, that as I said, my experience, I was humble enough to admit that I didn't know anything about new media. And so it took me 2 weeks for me to be grounded enough to say, oh, I've been doing something wrong, even in my own personal spaces, across social media. I have to go and be looking at all of them. I tell you the truth, if I have the time, I will go with you and project, we go through just pick one asset of the bank, go through it and I will show you error. You understand? So that's the thing, is that capacity is not the existence as it is now. And the field, this particular place is still evolving. We don't know the full use. Until a few years ago, TikTok was not the player, but now short videos are the thing. and everybody can do it. So very easy to use. And so I would say that it's more challenging now because of the dangers. But the opportunities and the abundances are so great that you cannot ignore. Everybody, as I mentioned earlier, WhatsApp, for example, is what I use. And considering the fact that that's the #1 mobile application in a mobile nation like Nigeria, it is sad that up to now, banks won't find a way to make that thing to deliver. I want to thank you for your time and for your attention. And I want to thank you for the good.
Wow.
This lecture, sincerely, people say, well, I am an expert for Westminster University. Pay for flight alone. I don't know. Except for that moment, I have money back in my business. I will be able to pay on that. If not, poor journalists like me won't afford that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. God bless you, sir. Happen to me and my friend. Please, I know Google Map in Nigeria, sometimes if you just type where you are going to, when you are driving, you just type where you are going to. Sometimes the Google Map might not understand. If you just get confused. Because some kind name of area for this country or for Lagos State is very, very confusing. You know, me and my friend, we went to Lhasa, so we just type in Lhasa. You know, at the end, we end up in Lhasa office. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite a wonderful man here also for the second lecture. Like we've already know, he's representing someone here in our midst today. Please, a round of applause for Mr. Moses Cjpan as he comes on stage. Please, representing Mr. Kayode. Please, a round of applause.
For Mr. Cjpan, I would like to welcome and appreciate Mr. Ramon Nasir. He is the head of corporate communication. You see us as a brother. He's here also to give us one or two things that we learned today. Mr. Ramon, you welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry, before
I'm sorry, sir. I think we can keep pending down our questions. Yeah, I don't want to. Initially, after the first lecture, we should come up with our questions. But I think let the spirit keep moving. Let it keep moving. We got to the point, we will for our questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So just keep your questions down. So that once we are done, we have a session for questions and answers. Please let's welcome Mr. Moses Cjpan on stage. God bless you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Moses Cjpan. I'm standing in for Mr. Kyle. I'm standing in for Mr. Kyle, who is supposed to be here, was unavoidably absent. He me about this very late last night, and I said, okay, I'll show up. Actually, Sean has actually invited me to attend the function as well. We work together with Mr. Cjpan in our small agency. The subject itself, the role of new media in the 21st century banking industry, is an interesting one. For me, because of my experience as a journalist and as a corporate communications person. I started my career in the media industry. Mr. Kalani was a guy in Punch. I later moved to the banking industry. I worked in 3 different banks, spanning about 14 years. And my experience all these years, came in handy when Mr. Cjpan said I should come and represent him. I won't waste your time so much. I'll just go to the small slide that he had said I should present on. By way of introduction, let me say that the media plays a crucial role in the development of any society. Media, they play this role through advocacy. That is number one, they advocate for good governance. They advocate for people-friendly policies. They are always on the neck of government to do the right thing. Secondly, they do this by exposing corruption in the society and try to bring perpetrators to book. We've seen how the media in Nigeria, how they have, exposed, not just exposed, but now, fixing their attention on the subject matter to ensure that perpetrators are punished. For instance, the suspended Attorney General, the Accountant General of the Federation, who has stolen so much. The media are not resting on their hands. They are continually, pushing it to the front border so that it will not be swept under the carpet. 3, the media also help in mobilizing the populace for good causes. For instance, they tell you embrace this kind of healthcare system to improve maternity or maternal healthcare, do family planning and all of that. They also help in promoting development in society through agenda setting. Media specifically looks for certain issues that are very germane in the society. And by continually repeating, the subject matter, they put government, on the spot. And this helps to bring about some policies that will bring about development in the country. Now, on the categories of media that we have in the country, we talk about new media and the traditional media. The traditional media are the ones we are very familiar with. These are the media that were in existence before the advent of the internet. They are still very much around the newspapers, television, radio, magazines. These are forms of traditional media. Then we have the new media. These are newspapers. These are media that are computational and use computers and the internet in the distribution of their news. You have blogs, news sites, even computer animation. You have social media like WhatsApp, Twitter. These are examples of the new media. But one thing that is common to all of them is that they use the internet. And when you use the internet, it's very fast in propagating and disseminating information. Now let me take you to the characteristics of the traditional media. Like we said, traditional media consists of the old ones that we are familiar with, like newspapers, radio, and television and magazines. They operate in a very large and formal environment. That is one characteristic of it. A newspaper, for instance, go to a newspaper house, you have the editorial department, advertising department, production department, sales department. These are formal structures put in place in various newspaper houses. Secondly, too, there are so many gatekeepers in the traditional media. You have the business editor, the news editor, the political editor, the editor himself. These are gatekeepers at different stages of the production process. You even have the reporter who is one who will gather the news in the first instance. It is not all the news that reporters submit. That's a form of gatekeeping. So everybody, there are so many gatekeepers in the traditional media. 3, feedback is not immediate. If a newspaper publishes today, sometimes it may take maybe 24 hours before any form of feedback will be seen. Maybe through letters to the editor or just reaction to the story published earlier. It's not immediate. You have to wait for some time. Then you have a situation whereby you need large capital to operate this form of media. Newspaper publishing is not a tea party affair. You don't even expect profits 1, 2, 3 years after. It doesn't come that easy. So if you are not heavy, or if you are not loaded financially, you don't go into it because the profit is not immediate. That is some of the basic attributes of the old media. Now coming back to the new media. The new media, though new, is not as cumbersome as the traditional media as we have it. For instance, you guys that you have online publishers, for instance, I don't think you need to rent a very big place, employ so many reporters, buy gadgets and all of that before you go into business. So it is not as capital intensive as the traditional media, but feedback is immediate. As you are posting your stories, maybe 1 or 2 minutes after, somebody is responding. So feedback is there. It's not only feedback, the person who is responding can also be a participant in the communication process. He can create his own, bring new dimension to what we are doing, and that forms another story altogether. Then the digital banking apps that enables you to do all the banking transactions that you need to do. So it's helpful in that it has helped banks to expand their network. It has helped banks to reach out to larger customers. It has helped banks to improve their service delivery, and has helped them to even create new products. There are some products now that, before the advent of the internet, were not available. But with this internet, banks have been able to create products, that are tied to the internet. For instance, the USSD code that you use to transfer money, all these are new products that the internet helped to back. Before then, you had to go to the bank, do all your transactions, move money. But today, you can do all of this without going to the branch. helps critical decision making. Through the new media, banks have been able to mine data. When they mine data, they also analyze this data, and patterns of information that appear help them in making useful and efficient decisions. For instance, if you have a very large database and you use your maybe artificial intelligence, you mine this data, you know the customers that are giving you the large deposits. You know where they are, so that you don't waste your time on those ones giving you small money. You can now concentrate to serve those ones better. You know the ones that are owing. It helps you to make your own decision, not to look their way when you are giving credit. So, the new media is also good. It helps them in making critical decisions. That is management and board of banks. I've already said before that it eases customers' transactions. And you don't need to stress yourself. Just punch some buttons and you get what you want. New media, they are digital in nature. What we mean by that is that information that are stored in physical form, in the case of the traditional media, are digitized. They are converted to chips. Maybe you have something like, you call it even cards. Cards you have in your computer, a lot of information is inside. So the socket that is digital is saved in form of binary information, not physical information as you see it. That is why you have something, you have tapes, you have the memory card, here, hard drives. Those are the forms of gadget that through which you store your information. It's not in physical form anymore. Then the new media also they are, let me say, textual in nature. They hypertextual. That means truly they have links. Links in the new media helps you to access different information at the same time. You press this, you press that, and move on. And it's immediate. In the newspaper industry, although some newspapers now are going online, most newspapers you see today, they have the online edition. It's an attempt to catch up with the new media so that they are not driven out of business altogether. And that is why today newspapers cannot afford to operate the way they were operating before. In the past, newspapers needed to wait for 24 hours to get feedback, or even news that happened today, to read it the following day. Now, newspapers are not carrying the same news again. Rather, what they need to do is to work on the story that broke today, bring new perspectives, develop that you get interpretative items that will interest the readers, not something that broke, because the new media have already broken the news. So we are repeating the same news tomorrow, it means nothing to the readers. So some of these changes also happen because the demographics of the readers have changed. The old people who grew up with the newspaper tradition are still loyal to the newspaper. They still buy the newspaper. But the younger ones that are coming up today, they live almost 22 hours of their 24 hours on the computers and gadgets. That is where they get their news. That's, in fact, they live their life on the internet. So, if you want to catch them, you need to go to the new media too. Whatever you are sending to them, make sure it's something that they can access through the new media. There's interactivity too, as far as the new media is concerned. You know, we exchange ideas almost simultaneously. It's one of the attributes of the new media. Then global network. You know, the new media employs what we call this global network of computers. It's not just, it's all the computers in the world together are brought together by the internet. So it's a network. That is why you are able to access information on any subject matter at any time. If you go to the Google search engine, put topic you are looking for, and punch comes up immediately. It's because of this network of computers that are working together that gives you this information. Then the new media ensures that we live in virtual worlds. You don't have to be physically present, for instance, to do our production or whatever. You can be in Abuja. You send your story and you still be talking to your editor, you know, online. It doesn't require your physical presence. It's because of this computer thing and the internet that is involved that makes this possible. Then simulation. You know, I said earlier that gaming, animation, this computer gaming is also part of the new media. You have simulation here. That's why you have, you could try something that could happen, you know, if, just like an experiment, if this thing exists, if you put this and this together, what will happen? When you watch some films, for instance, like the aircraft investigation, sometimes the investigators try to simulate what will happen. When an accident happens, they try to find out how it came about. Now, if they find a lead that says maybe one of the engines malfunctioned, they try to simulate it and see if it will. If they remove that thing from the engine, whether the accident will occur or not, it's just to find out and verify and validate their own findings. Now, let's go to the advantages of the new media. Number one, you can give voice to the voiceless. Because these days now, in this age of citizen journalism, everybody is involved in news production. Those who didn't have the privilege to go to the newspaper before, they have a voice now. You know, maybe through your Twitter account or even your Facebook post, you send and the whole world will hear or know about your views. So it gives them a voice, gives everybody a voice. 3, it can be used for disinformation, and this is one of the dysfunctional effects of the new media. You know, people are complaining of fake news, of non-factual stories being peddled now by people. You know, and once you send it, it goes viral. And it's actually one of the merits of the social media. People don't tend to believe the new media as well because they believe that they never do any rigorous research. Once they see something, they pick it up, and paste, and it goes viral. It can spoil businesses. New media, by virtue of the fact that you bring people together, it helps in bringing people together, and through that, you can develop some commercial relationships along the line. It can also homogenize culture. What you have seen is from the effect of exposure to some form of foreign culture, maybe through films and all of that, it tends to change your perspective of how to live your life. Some people now, you can say they westernized. They don't want to live their normal lives. They want to live the way the Westerners live through exposure to the films that they have watched. It's one of the unintended consequences of the new media. It can overtake personal connections. From what we have seen all over, you see that the new media is something that is fast, is aggressive in nature. It goes beyond just personal relationships now. When you go to the internet or you send a post, people that you don't even know, you've not met before, they come to your wall, they react to what you have posted or whatever. People that you have not known, you've not seen before. So it brings about a community of its own. Yes. That is some of the advantages of new media. Now, the importance of the new media to the banking industry in the 21st century. We said earlier that the new media consists of those media that employ the computers and the internet. If you see what is going on in the banking industry today, there's a transition to digital technology as a form of boosting and improving service delivery. Some banks have even gone to create digital apps where you don't even need to go to the bank hall or bank branch to do your transaction. From the comfort of your home, you can open an account, make inquiries, and do all kinds of banking transactions. It's possible today. Like I mentioned, for 5 banks that have developed, it gives them the toughest challenge in managing their balance. Newspapers are not difficult to manage because I don't know why, but I think it's just because the reporters have some appreciation of what is involved. That when they write stuff about banks, it will create a panic or create a run on them. But the new media, you don't consider this. And what happens is when you publish or when you put it on the net, it stays there forever. Some of the fears is, when you publish, you don't know where these things will get to. Banks have different stakeholders. Some of their the banks overseas they do business with, if they see some of these things, it will erode their confidence in them. So these are some of the issues that need to be understood by the operators of the new media. So that before you publish, you try to do an assessment of the impact of what you want to do. Once you put it there, and you know, banking thrives on confidence. Nobody wants to lose his money. So if you put something on the net and some people read it, the reaction will be immediate. You know, going by past experiences, nobody wants to lose money. And when they begin to go to the bank to demand, to ask for their money, you know what that one will cause. It will create a run. So it's one of the bad things that the new media has brought about. Now, the way forward. I said there is need for partnership between the corporate communications people and the online people. I would want to see more training programs, you know, for the online people, so that they can explain how banking works, you know, whatever they can do to encourage a healthy relationship, so that even before the online, the new media people publish, you have to call the corporate communications people for their views. Because sometimes what we see is a one-sided story. People don't even get to follow up on the rule that should be fair to all. If you call them, what's your reaction? What's your own side of the story? That will help. And because once you give them that benefit, it may water down the effect of the story that you are writing. And fact checking. When you see something, you see a story somewhere, it's your responsibility to fact check. Is it true? Or someone just concocts this? And then you find out that most times some of these stories are not always true, or not 100% true. So it will help to do a lot of fact checking so that we can have our facts correct. Self-regulation. You know, the online industry is growing. I'm sure in Nigeria we have more than 1,000 online sites, and they are still growing. So, what do we do? And there's no central authority that regulates the practice of this business. So, it is therefore incumbent upon the various associations to devise their own code, so that it will serve as a guide to their members. You know, where you don't have rules or laws, everybody does what he likes. So that is the situation we find ourselves in. It would be better, it would be nice if we can put something like a code of conduct that will regulate the conduct of members. That way, you will have something to cheer about in the industry. And finally, fairness. Fairness here is giving everybody a fair chance of being heard, and then project their views as well, so that you can have balanced stories. if you write something about my organization, for instance, and you embed my view, at least I won't be angry because you have reached out to me and I'll be able to give you my own view about what actually transpires. That way, there will be a healthy relationship between the online and the campaign. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That graphic is going up. Please, you can do it.